We have a great honor today to have with us one of the great men of our time, Elder Ezra Taft Benson of the Council of the 12 Apostles of the Church. Previous to his being called as a member of the Council of the 12, Elder Benson served as a stake president of the Boise stake and later served as the president of the Washington stake in Washington, D.C. In his present calling as a member of the Council of the 12, he is the supervisor of the missions of the church in Asia. And as we chatted about it for a moment, he reminded me that a third of the population of the world is within the boundaries of the missions which he supervises. Elder Benson attended what was then called Utah State Agricultural College, now Utah State University. And after serving a mission in the British Isles, he continued his education here at Brigham Young University, where he graduated with honors and was given a scholarship to Iowa State College. It was at Iowa State that he received his MS degree and was elected to the Honor Society of Agriculture. He later did graduate work at the University of California. He is the recipient of several honorary awards and degrees, including Brigham Young University's Distinguished Service Award in 1950, an honorary Doctor of Science degree from Rutgers University in 1955, and an honorary Doctor of Public Service degree at Brigham Young University also in 1955. Elder Benson served as a county agricultural agent in his native Idaho, and in 1931 was asked to head the newly organized Department of Agricultural Economics and Marketing at the University of Idaho at Boise. In 1939, he received the distinct honor of being appointed Executive Secretary of the National Council of Farmers Cooperatives. Since then, he has served on several advisory committees and national boards in the field of agriculture. Recognizing Elder Benson's outstanding ability as well as years of experience in agricultural affairs, President Dwight D. Eisenhower appointed him to his cabinet as Secretary of Agriculture. He served in this position on the President's cabinet from 1952 to 1961. Active in the scouting program as a young man, Elder Benson is now a member of the National Executive Board of the Boy Scouts of America. I'm sure you will all know that he is also a member of the Board of Trustees of this university. Elder Benson is married to Flora Smith Amison, the father of 6 children. It's a great privilege to have him here with us today, and we now turn the time to Elder Ezra Taft Benson of the Council of the 12.
My beloved brothers and sisters, humbly and gratefully I stand before you today, and I express appreciation for those very generous words of introduction from President Lewis. I had a humorous thought. I thought if I could just pass away now, a lot of fuss and bother could be avoided. My eulogy's already been said. Seriously, I am happy to be here. I'm about to inflict upon you something strangely different, something no doubt surprising to you and also to me. One of the marks of an educated man today is to know what not to read, what not to see, what not to listen to. But as a semi-captive audience, you are apparently obligated to remain here while I speak. I am not here on assignment from the brethren, nor did I invite myself here out of my love for Brigham Young University. Your invitation to your American Week brought me here because I love America, and I love young Americans, and especially Brigham Young University Americans. Every true Latter-day Saint loves America, regardless of where he lives. Many times during the past quarter century, I have come here as an alumnus and trustee of this great school. I have spoken freely my thoughts and convictions regarding the Lord's great restored gospel plan and current problems of the day. This morning I speak relatively few of my own thoughts, but give to you many words of others regarding America. These I deem important to you, my young brethren and sisters. They should be sobering to you as a choice young people in this American week. This American week is timely and much needed. I commend you. America is a land choice above all other lands. Prophets have so declared. A land with a prophetic history and a spiritual foundation. But this great nation, the greatest in all the world, is at the crossroads. Through a good friend, I have an item which came to me from a professional archaeologist who died last year in Rome. During a long lifetime of professional diggings, he had turned up hundreds of relics and readings from the ancient past. Always a passionately patriotic American, he didn't like the way things were going here in recent years, and in one of his last letters, he sent his anticipation of the epitaph that centuries from now some exploring archaeologist will find carved upon the unearthed tombstone of the United States. Here is the epitaph. Here lies the greatest civilization that the world has ever seen. It died at the peak of its tremendous power, which it refused to use in its own defense. Here lies the nation that wagered its fabulous wealth and strength upon the love of mankind, and in the process of the wager lost all three. Here lie the people who abandoned their priceless patriotic heritage of religious truth, and with it, their freedom and their will to live. Here lies the last best hope of earth. Here lies the United States of America. This may sound like a somber note on which to begin a talk to a group of dedicated, devoted Americans. Yet while most Americans continue to enjoy their comfortable complacency, the fact remains that the American way of life, with a spiritual foundation, which has given us the highest standard of living and more of the good things of life than any other civilization, is under powerful attack. The most prominent targets now under withering fire in this war against ourselves is the Ten Commandments, the Sermon on the Mount, the Constitution of the United States, the institution of private property, and the youth of America. Surely this is a time when consideration might well be given by the people of America to the important matter of citizenship responsibility in this blessed land. Paraphrasing Cicero, the great Roman, I tell you that freedom does not mean the freedom to exploit law in order to destroy it. It is not freedom which permits the Trojan horse to be wheeled within the gates and those within it to be heard in the name of tolerating a different point of view. He who is not for America and American law and American liberty is against America. He who plots against established authority and incites the populace to violence is against America. He cannot ride two horses at the same time. He cannot be for lawful ordinances and for an alien conspiracy at one and the same moment. One is an American or not an American. No people can maintain freedom unless their political institutions are founded upon faith in God and belief in the existence of moral law. God has endowed men with certain unalienable rights, and no legislature and no majority, however great, may morally limit or destroy these. The only way America can survive in this basically hostile and topsy-turvy world is to remain militarily, economically, politically, and morally strong and independent. We must put off our rose-colored glasses, quit repeating those soothing but entirely false statements about world unity and brotherhood, and look at the world as it is, not as we would like it to become. The inspired founding fathers recognized this. Governor Reagan of California put it this way. James Russell Lowell, as minister to England, was asked how long he thought the republic would endure. He answered that our republic would endure as long as the people keep the ideas of the men who founded it. And what were those ideas? The founding fathers, that little band of men so advanced beyond their time, the world has never seen their like since, created a government based on the theory that you and I have the God-given right and ability to determine our own destiny. Here took place the only revolution in all history that didn't just exchange one set of rules for another. They shaped a government, bound it with a constitution, and said its only function was to be a watchdog over man's freedom. They never planned that it should be a cow to be milked. Here, for the first time, the individual genius of man, every man, was unleashed. 6% of the world's population on 7% of the Earth's land surface created and owns more than 50% of the world's wealth. And that wealth has been distributed more widely among our people than in any other society since time began. There were no fringe benefits at Valley Forge. The West was one without an area redevelopment program. Now you and I, says the governor, must answer once again whether life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If we are not willing to pledge our lives, our efforts, and our secret honor, then we must one day spend our sunset years telling our children what it once was like in America when men were free. Dr. Robert Strauss Hoppe recently published a series of articles based on the observations of a number of historians, Spengler, de Reincourt, Ferrero, Gibbons, and some others. He told how Rome had known a pioneer beginning not unlike our own pioneer heritage, and then entered into 2 centuries of greatness, reaching its pinnacle in the second of those centuries, going into the decline and collapse in the third. Yet the sins of decay were becoming apparent in the latter years of the second century. It is written that there were vast increases in the number of the idle rich and the idle poor. The latter were put on a permanent dole, a welfare system not unlike our own. As this system became permanent, the recipients of public largesse increased in number. They organized into a political bloc with sizable power. They were not hesitant about making their demands known, nor was the government hesitant about agreeing to their demands, and with ever-increasing frequency. Would-be emperors catered to them. The great, solid middle class, Rome's strength then as ours is today, was taxed more and more to support a bureaucracy that kept growing larger and even more powerful. Surtaxes were imposed upon incomes to meet emergencies. The government engaged in deficit spending. The denarius, a silver coin similar to our $50, began to lose its silvery hue. It took on a copper color as the government reduced the silver content. Even then, Gresham's law was at work, because the real silver coin soon disappeared. It went into hiding. Military service was an obligation highly honored by the Romans. Indeed, a foreigner could win Roman citizenship simply by volunteering for service in the legions of Rome. But with increasing affluence and opulence, the young men of Rome began avoiding this service, finding excuses to remain in the soft and sordid life of the city. They took to using cosmetics and wearing feminine-like hairdos and garments. until it became difficult, the historians tell us, to tell the sexes apart. Among the teachers and scholars was a group called the Cynics, whose number let their hair and beards grow and who wore slovenly clothes and professed indifference to the worldly goods as they heaped scorn on what they called middle-class values. I'm still talking about Rome. The morals declined. It became unsafe to walk in the countryside or the city streets. Rioting was commonplace, and sometimes whole sections of towns and cities were burned. And all the time, the twin diseases of confiscatory taxation and creeping inflation were waiting to deliver the death blow. Then finally, all these forces overcame the energy and ambition of the middle class. Rome fell. We are now approaching the end of our second century, unquote. Conditions in our beloved America have become increasingly worse since the San Francisco Examiner asked 4 years ago, what has happened to our national morals? An educator speaks out in favor of free love. A man of God condones sexual excursions by unmarried adults. Movies sell sex as a commercial commodity. Bookstores and cigar stands peddle pornography. A high court labels yesterday's smut as today's literature. Record shops feature albums displaying nudes and near nudes. Nightclubs stage shows that would have shocked a smoker audience a generation ago. TV shows and TV commercials pour out a flood of sick, sadistic, and suggestive sex situations. A campaign is launched to bring acceptance to homosexuality. Radio broadcasts present discussions for and against promiscuity. Magazines and newspapers publish pictures and articles that flagrantly violate the bounds of good taste. Four-letter words, once heard only in barroom brawls, now appear in publications of general distribution. Birth control counsel is urged for high school girls. Look around you, the article continues. These things are happening in your America. In the 2 decades since the end of World War II, we have seen our national standards of morality lowered again and again. We have seen a steady erosion of past principles of decency and good taste. And we have harvested a whirlwind. As our standards have lowered, our crime levels and social problems have increased. Today we have a higher percentage of our youth in jail, in reformatories, on probation, and in trouble than ever before. Study the statistics of illegitimate births, on broken marriages, on juvenile crimes, on school dropouts, on sex deviation, on dope addiction, on high school marriages, on crimes of passion. The figures are higher than ever and going higher. Parents, police authorities, educators, and thoughtful citizens of all walks of life are deeply disturbed. They should be, for they are responsible. We of the older generation are responsible. Our youngsters are no better and no worse than we were at the same age. Generally, they are wiser. But they have more temptations than we had. They have more cars, they have more money, they have more opportunities for getting into trouble. We open doors for them that were denied to us. We encouraged permissiveness. We indulged them. We granted maximum freedoms. And we asked for a minimum of respect and responsibility. Rules and regulations that prevailed for generations as sane and sensible guides for personal conduct were reduced or removed or ignored. Prayer was banned from the schoolroom, and the traditional school books that taught moral precepts as well as reading were replaced with inane banalities of Dick and Jane. Basically, there are just two main streams of religious thought in these United States: those who believe in a supreme being and those who do not. The first group far outnumbers the second. But this nation, that was founded on the democratic concept of majority rule, now denies the positive rights of many to protect the negative rights of a few. And the article continues, as prayer went out of the classroom, so too did patriotism. No longer are our children encouraged to take pride in our nation's great and glorious past. Heroes are downgraded. The role played by the United States in raising the hearts and hopes of all enslaved peoples for a century and a half is minimized. We believe this is wrong. We are convinced that a majority of our citizens would welcome an increase in patriotism and prayer, and a decrease in the peddling of sex, sensationalism, materialism, and sordidness. In the months ahead, we will intensify our efforts to fight back against the appalling vulgarization of sex. We do not propose prudery. Neither do we propose wild-eyed fanatical patriotism. In both areas, we propose to address ourselves to the problems as we see them with calm reason and respect for the rights of those with views contrary to ours. As a newspaper, we have an obligation to reflect life as it is and not as it ideally might be. We will, therefore, continue to print all the news. That which is sordid and tawdry, we will treat in a manner suitable for a family publication. Over the years, we have refused to accept advertising which we felt exceeded the bounds of good taste. We will pursue this course with greater dedication in the future. Our test will be our own standards of good taste. We do not claim infallibility. Readers have felt we erred in the past. Others will undoubtedly feel we do so in the future. Such errors of excess, if they occur, will be in spite of our efforts, not because of them. If the general public is deeply disturbed, as we are, by the decline in national morals and in national pride, let it speak out. Together we can put down the sex peddlers without lifting the blue noses. And with God's help, we can put prayer and patriotism back in our classrooms and in our hearts and homes as well. Unquote. We need more newspapers with the courage to stand up and speak out. Law enforcement in America is at the point of crisis. A recent Lifeline broadcast warned that in Chicago, 64 men quit the police force in 1 month. Baltimore has 360 police vacancies. Washington, D.C. is 230 men short of its authorized complement. And cities all over the country are desperately seeking recruits. Police are not striking, they're quitting, and it is understandable. They're being demoralized by the hostile attitudes of the politically minded Supreme Court. They're being demoralized by a weird penal system which frees hardened criminals almost as fast as they're arrested. Policemen are demoralized by slanted news reporting, distorted facts, which show police activities from the criminal side. And they're being demoralized by an avalanche of new laws, which are making it even harder to convict the guilty. San Diego Police Chief Wesley Sharp warns that if there isn't a change, the increase in crime will lead to anarchy and criminals will control the nation. Almost everyone recognizes that something is wrong with the Supreme Court. One does not have to be a constitutional lawyer to sense it. After a decade or more of court decisions following a consistent and recognizable pattern, crime now runs rampant in the street. Subversives who are openly dedicated to the destruction of our way of life operate in our midst with complete impunity. And government has grown to gigantic proportions never envisioned by the framers of the Constitution. People are beginning to wonder who is master and who is servant. If one looks closely, the hand of the modern Supreme Court can be found in all these major developments. Decisions of the modern Supreme Court have undermined the forces of law and order, and more than any other single cause, are directly responsible for the nation's soaring crime rate. This is a broad statement, I realize, but it is more than substantiated by a review of the court's decisions involving confessions, material evidence, and police investigative procedures. Time does not permit a detailed analysis of the impact upon law and order of such milestone cases as Mallory, Mapp, Escobedo, and Miranda. But they all add up to one incontrovertible fact. The modern Supreme Court has tipped the scales of justice in favor of the rights of criminals at the expense of the rights of law-abiding citizens who are the victims of these criminals. I've been over in Vietnam. I've talked to our servicemen, thousands of them. Do you know what their big worry really is? They're worried about what they're going to come home to. And what they're going to come home to is entirely up to you and me and millions of fortunate people like us. Most Americans are not fooled by the glib communist phrases about peaceful coexistence. They realize that communists are not merely members of some minority political party, but are just as were members of the Nazi Party during World War II, part of an organization whose objectives and activities place them in the position of being enemies of the United States. The American branch of the Communist Party is comparable to a commando detachment of enemy troops working on our own soil to create the conditions necessary for the eventual communist conquest of our nation. The only difference is that, unlike our enemies of the past, the communists plan to conquer from the inside. Using such weapons as riots, civil war, political manipulations, brainwashing, blackmail, false leadership, and treason. Whether we like it or not, the International Communist Organization has declared total war against the United States, and we are fighting for survival. When General William F. Dean was released from a Korean communist prison camp, the young Chinese psychologist who had been trying to break him down said, "General, don't feel bad about leaving us. You know we will soon be with you. We are going to capture your country." Asked how, they replied, "We are going to destroy the moral character of a generation of young Americans. And when we have finished, you will have nothing with which to defend yourselves against us." And I say to you today, my brothers and sisters, that they are making frightening progress toward their objective. I do not believe the greatest threat to our future is from bombs or guided missiles. I do not think our civilization will die that way. I think it will die when we no longer care, when the spiritual forces that make us wish to be right and noble die in the hearts of men, when we disregard the importance of law and order and the basic principles upon which this nation has been built. If American freedom is lost, if America is destroyed, if our blood-bought freedom is surrendered, it will be because of Americans. What's more, it will probably not be only the work of subversive and criminal Americans. The Benedict Arnolds will not be the only ones to forfeit our freedom. At what point, then, in the approach of danger is the approach of danger to be expected? Asked Abraham Lincoln, and answered, "If it ever reaches us, it must spring up amongst us. It cannot come from abroad. If destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. As a nation of free men, we must live through all time or die by suicide." If America is destroyed, it may be my Americans who salute the flag, sing the national anthem, march in patriotic parades, cheer 4th of July speakers, normally good Americans, but Americans who fail to comprehend what is required to keep our country strong and free. Americans who have been lulled away into a false security. Great nations are never conquered from the outside unless they are rotten inside. Our greatest national problem today is erosion. Not the erosion of the soil, but the erosion of the national morality. Erosion of traditional enforcement of law and order. In this blessed land, we have exalted security, comfort, and ease above freedom. If we dwelled at length on the many things that are disturbing in the life of America today, we might well become discouraged. I mention only a few of the reported startling evidences of national illness, our moral erosion. And I omit listing these, reading these in the interest of time, but ask that they be included in the printed record. The present shocking situation was summed up succinctly by J. Edgar Hoover in the FBI Enforcement Bulletin in these words: morality, integrity, law and order, and other cherished principles of our great heritage are battling for survival in many communities today. They are under constant attack from degrading and corrupting influences which, if not halted, will sweep away every vestige of decency and order remaining in our society. A short while ago, a nationwide survey of high school and college students was conducted. The U.S. Junior Chamber of Commerce reveals, as a result of that survey, that 41% of these high school and college students believe that freedom of the press should be canceled. 53% believe in government ownership of banks, railroads, and steel companies. 62% said that the government had the responsibility to provide jobs. And 62% thought a worker should not produce all he can. 61% rejected the profit incentive as necessary to the survival of free enterprise. And 84% denied that patriotism is vital and plays an important part in our lives. The letters which come to my desk from worried parents deeply concerned by what is being taught to their children in the schools are shocking, to say the least. We can never survive unless our young people understand and appreciate our American system, which has given us more of the good things of life than any other system in this world, unless they have a dedication that exceeds the dedication of the enemy. That's why I'm so pleased with your week here today that you're in now. Character must become important in this country again. The old essentials of honesty, self-respect, loyalty, patriotism, support of law and order must be taught the younger generation. Moral erosion must cease, and simple goodness must be restored in this joyous land. A great French political philosopher and friend of America saw this clearly. Here are his words of long ago. I sought for the greatness and genius of America in her commodious harbors and her ample rivers, and it was not there. In her fertile fields and boundless prairies, and it was not there. In her rich mines and her vast world commerce, and it was not there. Not until I went to the churches of America and heard her pulpits aflame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her genius and her power. America is great because she is good, he said. And if America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. That is as true today as it was when it was spoken. As Latter-day Saints, we believe that governments were instituted of God for the benefit of man, and that he holds men accountable for their acts in relation to them, both in making laws and administering them for the good and safety of society. We believe that no government can exist in peace except such laws are framed and held inviolate as will secure to each individual the free exercise of conscience, the right and control of property, and the protection of life. Who is our great enemy? Internationally, our enemy is communism, the arch enemy of world freedom. The battleground is on the freedom fronts of the world and here in our own land. And nationally, the enemy is an ever-creeping socialism centered in an increasingly powerful federal government and the loss of more and more of our constitutional freedoms. The battleground is here in America, where creeping socialism is the red carpet providing the royal welcome to communism. Individually, the enemy is ourselves. Are we not our own worst enemy? With our declining moral standards, our increasing selfishness and constant search for pleasure, the piling on of luxury upon luxury for the sake of softer and softer living and the possession of a hollow, vacillating national purpose. The battleground is in our hearts, in our intellects, in our homes, and our communities. And the war goes on relentlessly. Are we truly ready to face the facts and accept the challenge? Everywhere at home and abroad, America, as the most generous nation under heaven, is being downgraded. It is not right. It is evil. It is inspired and fed by godless forces who would destroy our great nation. I share, as I'm sure you do, the feelings of a country newspaper editor who exclaimed, "I am a tired American. I am tired of being called the ugly American. I am tired of having the world panhandlers use my country as a whipping boy 365 days a year. I am a tired American, weary of having American embassies and information centers stoned, burned, and sacked by mobs operating under orders from dictators who preach peace and breed conflict. I am a tired American, choked up to here on this business of trying to intimidate our government by placard, picket line, and sit-ins by the hordes of dirty, unwashed who rush to man the barricades against the forces of law, order, and decency. I am a tired American, weary of the beatniks who say they should have the right to determine what laws of the land they are willing to obey. I am a tired American, fed up with the mobs of scabby-faced, long-haired youth and short-haired girls who claim they represent the new wave of America and who sneer at the old-fashioned virtues of honesty, integrity, and morality on which America grew to greatness. I am a tired American, weary unto death of having my tax dollars go to dictators who play both sides against the middle with threats of what will happen if we cut off the golden stream of dollars. I am a tired American, nauseated by the lazy do-nothings who wouldn't take a job if you drove them to and from work in a Rolls Royce. I am a tired American who is getting madder by the minute at the filth peddlers who have launched Americans into an obscenity race, who try to foist on us the belief that filth is an integral part of culture. I am a tired American, weary of the bearded bums who tramp the picket lines and sit-ins, who prefer Chinese communism to capitalism, and who see no evil in Castro, but sneer at the President of the United States as a threat to peace. I am a tired American who has lost all patience with that civil rights group which is showing propaganda movies on college campuses from coast to coast, movies denouncing the United States, movies made in communist China. I am a tired America who is angered by the self-righteous breastbeater critics of America at home and abroad who set impossible yardsticks for the United States, but who never apply the same standards to the French, the British, the Russians, the Chinese. I am a tired American who resents the pimply-faced beatniks who try to represent Americans as the bad guys on black horses. I am a tired American who is weary of some Negro leader who, for shock purposes, scream four-letter words in church meetings. I am a tired American, sickened by the slack-jawed bigots who wrap themselves in bed sheets and in the dead of night and roam the countryside looking for innocent victims. I am a tired American who dislikes clergymen who have made a career out of integration causes, yet send their own children to private schools. I am a tired American who resents those who try to peddle the belief in schools and colleges that capitalism is a dirty word, and that free enterprise and private initiative are only synonyms for greed. They say they hate capitalism, but they're always right at the head of the line demanding their share of the American way of life. I am a tired American who gets more than a little bit weary of the clique in our State Department which chooses to regard a policy of timidity as prudent, the same group which subscribes to a no-win policy in Vietnam. I am a tired American, real tired of those who are trying to sell me the belief that America is not the greatest nation in all the world, a generous-hearted nation, a nation dedicated to the policy of trying to help the have-nots achieve some of the good things that our system of free enterprise brought about. I am an American who gets a lump in his throat when he hears the Star-Spangled Banner, and who holds back tears when he hears those chilling high notes of the brassy trumpet when Old Glory reaches the top of the flagpole. I am a tired American who wants to start snapping at those phonies who want us to bow down and worship their false idols, and who seek to destroy the belief that America is the land of the free and the home of the brave. I am a tired American who thanks a merciful God that he was lucky enough to be born an American citizen, a nation under God, with truly mercy and justice for all, unquote. My fellow Americans, sons and daughters of true Americans, I believe in the United States of America without reservation. It is my home, my country. It is my hope, my concern. Here I work and rest. Here I build and dream. Here is security for my loved ones. Here my toil is rewarded with an unmatched abundance for my well-being. Here freedom to live, to think, and to worship is mine, guaranteed by law and our Constitution. Here I am part of government, able to vote, to serve, and to carry my share of the common load. God grant us wisdom and strength to safeguard our country's welfare with devotion great enough to measure up to her greatness. Yes, these are the times that try men's souls, as was said long ago. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. 'Tis dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price on its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated, unquote. A prophet of God in our day has said, the Constitution of this government was written by men who accepted Jesus Christ as the Savior of mankind. Let men and women in these United States then continue to keep their eyes centered upon Him, who ever shines as a light to all the world. Men and women who live in America, the land of Zion, have a responsibility greater than that yet borne by any other people. There's the duty, the obligation to preserve not only the Constitution of the land, but also the Christian principles from which sprang that immortal document. In Revelations in our day, the Lord has said, remember ever that the Lord has emphasized, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. Wherefore lift up your hearts and rejoice, and gird up your loins, and take upon you my whole armor, that ye may be able to stand, to withstand the evil day, having done all, that ye may be able to stand. Have we done all? No, we have not. To true Latter-day Saints, America is the Lord's base of operations, now and in the future. From this base, the message of the restored gospel must go to all the world. And the first principle of war is to protect your base of operations. And we are at war with the greatest evil in this world, led by masters of deceit, under the direction of the adversary, the devil himself. It is a continuation of the war in which we are engaged in the spirit world before this earth life. We were valiant there. What about today? This is America, the land of opportunity, a land choice above all other lands, a land with a prophetic history and a spiritual foundation. Let us keep it so. With God's help, the light of high resolve in the eyes of the American people must never be dimmed. Our freedom must and will be preserved. It will continue to be a land of freedom and liberty as long as we are able to advance in the light of sound and enduring principles of right. To sacrifice such principles for momentary expediency, often selfishly motivated, is to endanger our noble heritage and is unworthy of this great American people. With all my heart, I love this great nation. I have traveled and lived abroad just enough to make me appreciate rather fully what we have here. To me, this is not just another nation. This is not just one of the family of free nations. This is a nation with a great mission to perform for liberty-loving people everywhere. It is my firm conviction that the Constitution of this land was established by men whom the God of heaven raised up unto this very purpose. Yes, the days ahead are sobering and challenging, and will require the faith, prayers, and loyalty of every American. Our challenge is to keep America strong and free, strong socially, strong economically, and above all, strong spiritually, if our way of life is to endure. God grant that this may be so. I humbly pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.